Well, hello, folks. Yeah, it's getting hard to talk about anything anymore. I used to have fun doing it, but everybody's talking about stuff nowadays, and there's a giddiness about it. Everybody's so excited to have so much to talk about, and things just seem to be getting worse by the year. Um, and the more you look into it, uh, the more you see that it's the same old thing, you know. Um, I keep saying it all the time, but throw a dart at a historical history timeline at the globe, let it hit where it it lands, and examine the newspaper headlines of the day, or look at what's going on. Europe's been a violent place forever, and violent for many reasons. Always good at rationalizing why it's violent. Um, it's been bloody as hell. We can't remember 2010, much less, uh, the Vietnam War, World War II, or Korea, or Indonesia, or anything. Um, Iran Contra, whatever. It's always been like this. The game's always been the same. A small number of people profiting off of your blood and your treasure. Um, and we're all being manipulated into believing the progress narratives and stories and falling into it. One of the problems, I think, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is that we just, William Rees, so many people, I've read so many books on this stuff and so many articles and blog posts. And, it is true that we don't do complexity well. Uh, and I'm not going to go into that because it's a complex subject, but most of us, normal human beings, can, keep track of a few things at once. And, we're really not good at delving deep into multiple domains, especially complex domains. I've said many times, but you know how difficult it is to learn things, right? And so maybe you were in high school and you were good at calculus and biology and history, and you were great at English and all that stuff. Straight A student, really, really good. Went to university, you were really great in all your classes there as well. And then you get out, you go to work, you specialize in something, and you dumb down. Suddenly, all those other uh, areas of interest take a back seat because now you're in the game. You've got to make money. You've got to um, get ahead. You need uh, some prestige and some wins and promotions and whatever. There's nothing wrong with specializing. We need specialists, right? But even the most brilliant brain surgeon can't keep track of everything. They're not going to be knowledgeable about, rocket engines and so on and so forth. So we have this fire hose of information coming at us, and because we hear things and can parrot what we hear, we think we know something about something, but we really don't know anything about it. Um, but it perturbs us anyway because it hijacks our attention, and we have to look at it, think about it. And so a lot of us just say, I'm not going to look at anything. I don't care anymore. I'm not looking, and whatever happens, happens. I've got to pay for my truck. And that makes total sense. We just don't have the capacity to be concerned about everything. So anyway, a lot of the armchair podcast gurus and revolutionaries and tough guys and intellectual influencers are very giddy. They're so excited about knowing what's what. I hope to God I don't come off like that. I get frustrated and upset because I'm curious about things. I look into them and I see how we're treating all of this, and it's just silly. Every few years or so, people I talk to will blame it all on the next scapegoat. So Now it's all the Epstein crowd, and before it was the Davos crowd, and there was the Soros crowd, and it's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation crowd, and it's Donald J. Trump's fault, it's Putin's fault, it's the commies, it's the Catholics or whatever. It's a scapegoat thing, and it's a simple narrative. Let's all get interested in Q, or whatever, uh, and pay attention to that because it contains all the truth, the information we need, and it really is information weak. It's low quality, low resolution information. It's just anecdotes, stories. And, since when, Caligula, Nero, have elites not been up to things that commoners might find shocking because we've been taught that we're sinners or whatever it was? Throw a dart at a history timeline. Um, Now it's like it's all the Epstein, or it's like wag the dog. Israel is wagging the dog, and so on and so forth. This stuff is built into the structures and it's systemic of everything in our modern techno industrial world, our civilization. It has been since thousands of years ago. And the United States has been a warlike, violent country from its founding. Jesus, I can't freaking talk anymore. It's just so much on my mind, and I just can't slow down and calm down and say it. I don't even know why I want to say it. Why bother? People don't have the capacity to do anything. We don't know what to do. We don't know what would be better. And we can't agree on anything because there's 8 billion of us. And we're not all, from Austin, Texas, or wherever. There are all kinds of cultures out there in the world. People don't realize that Iranians are people, just like you, and they have a culture and they have beliefs and they have things that they're interested in and that they focus on and whatnot. The arrogance of the West is mind-boggling, and they're totally inconsiderate of anyone else's needs other than the players of the great game who are all about profit, period. You know, I wrote this thing in December, Capitalist Cabinet of Curiosities. It's about 250 pages of stuff I put together with videos and references to other articles and stuff and books and whatnot. Covers a lot of ground, but you can't keep up with it. Every time I edit a section of it to put on Substack, there's so much more things I could put in there. But again, it requires attention. You'd have to read it. It took me a long time to put it together. I have to research and read, and I have to go over the books I've read and things like that, videos and whatnot, and I have to try to put it together in a way that's readable and all that type of thing. And then you have to expect a person to spend however many minutes they have to spend reading that post. And on top of it all, I'm asking people to read books and to look at videos and to read other people's articles, triangulate and look at things from various perspectives and stuff. That's a big ask. So I'm an asshole. I'm a jerk. I'm a prick. And people are anti-intellectual anyway. So even the pretense of being interested in stuff and trying to learn stuff is unconscionable, unforgivable. And you ask somebody to take a look at something, or they ask you your opinion and you have one, God forbid, and articulate it, then the next thing out of their mouth is, well, you seem to know a lot about blah, blah, so tell me about blah, blah. And it's a loaded question, a rhetorical question, trying to get you into something they're focused on. And sometimes it's conspiratorial stuff, whatever. Sometimes it's not. But Obviously, people are going to change the subject, ask you a rhetorical question, don't really have the time or desire to really have that conversation, so they change the subject. I don't mind if people change the subject in person. It's like I'll talk with you about anything. It's not a big deal, and I don't need for people to agree with me. Um, but online, it's just so vexing because um, everybody has to be the star of their own show. Uh, a lot of these gurus are very, very impressed with themselves. They think they're revolutionaries. They think they're making a difference. They think they're defenders of the faith. It's like whatever sect you're from, a religious sect or ideological clique or whatever group, you're a socialist, people keep saying over and over again, dialectical materialism or whatever, right? This one guy I was listening to for a while, he keeps saying, and my roommate Keir Starmer back in the day, you have to name drop, but you don't just name drop once. You do it every episode 3 or 4 times to make sure that people understand that you were have some connection, first level connection with somebody important or whatever. And you giggle and laugh, and you're so, enamored with your understanding or take on things. And you think that you're like Caitlin, what's her last name? I stopped reading her stuff. It's like you have this righteous anger and frustration, which I understand, and you're writing about Gaza or whatever. And it's just vitriol, anger, frustration. It never ends, and nothing comes of it other than the agitation of the reader saying, "Yeah, me too. I'm agitated," and you feel like, "Okay, I've done my part today. I've read about the genocide. I can go to work now." Isn't that horrible? Nothing comes of it. These armchair podcast revolutionaries don't affect anything. They're ineffectual. They're feckless. They have uh, no influence whatsoever. If people have, let's say, you have 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers on your show, whether it's a left wing or right wing show or whatever it is, you basically have no influence at all over anyone except people who like infotainment. So you're out there in the Coliseum going, "Are you not infotained?" And it's like, oh, yes, the gladiatorial uh, shenanigans of podcasters. And everybody's got an opinion. Me too. How ironic. What an asshole I am. So, uh, you know, for me, it's so frustrating because I read about Zionism back in the early 80s. I visited Israel in the 70s, other times as well. But, um, I, I, I've read books on things forever. So a lot of things are kind of familiar to me. I'm not an expert. I don't remember everything I read 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And I'm always reading. So, you know, things get deleted and it's not like that. I'm not, human memory isn't mechanical, but it seems like, your available working memory is only so much. So you can only keep so much in your head at a given time that you can converse about. But anyway, you see things and you go, "Oh, that's familiar. I know what Zionism means or whatever. I remember reading this book or that book. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." And M theory and whatever. Like some of these New Age books, like Deepak Chopra or something, where they co-opt uh, theoretical physics to make a point about something or another that they believe in, and it's all very magical and wonderful and all that kind of thing. Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember, and nothing, nothing changes. Here I am giggling at myself with glee, giddy about my. But these people become so annoying after a while. Now, a lot of podcasters and writers and so on are not annoying. They're literally just reporting what they're paying attention to and what they're thinking about or whatever. And they're not overly impressed with themselves. And they have good guests on who are talking about their book or their area of expertise or whatever. And they're not annoying, or sometimes mildly annoying, but not really. It's just these other people that are obviously really, really enamored with their efforts and believing that what they do makes a huge difference, you know. Uh, I would say that the Kardashians or somebody like that, they make a big difference because they make shitloads of money and spend shitloads of money. And so they have some impact on something or another. And I don't know how big their audiences are, but they're much bigger than some guy talking about, you know, resistance to the empire and so on. I like indie.ca, but have to stop reading him too because it's so repetitive. And I'm repetitive. That's why I hardly ever put up a video anymore because I look at it and say, ah, fuck it. What's the point? But you know, it's like, yes, I agree with a lot of your perspectives and so on, and your rhetoric is kind of fun and interesting and so on, but nothing comes of it, nothing whatsoever, other than the agitation of understanding just how unjust and ridiculous and absurd the global economy is, the global political, geopolitical situation is, and culture and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it ends with starvation, unfortunately. And I don't know if we have much agency or if we can even help determine how bad it's going to get, how painful, how destructive. Uh, you know, there are just so many things going on in the poly crisis that it's hard to keep track of it. I think for your average person, there's no way. So they're not paying attention to it at all. And we can, you know, the overshoot, collapse, and limits to growth click that I've been following recently, they have no power whatsoever over anything. And we're all frustrated because people can't see it, but of course they can't. Why would they? I mean, what person in Tehran is concerned about overshoot or Paris or Belgium? And our leaders are complete morons. At the end of the day, you know, the whatever stability and rules-based order or international law we had has been undermined over and over again for decades, for generations by the United States. And after a while, the world just loses faith and trust. In God we trust. You look at the dollar bill. No, I don't trust you anymore. Sorry. And once they start settling their business with other currencies and whatnot, the dollar is finished. And once people don't trust the Pax Americana anymore, they don't think they're going to make money. They don't think they're going to get bribed, paid off. You know, it's over for the states. And then the U.S. just turns in on itself and starts balkanizing itself, just breaking apart. But of course, before that, there's starvation, and it all ends in billions of people starving to death. I hate to tell you that. But the low-hanging fruit in terms of energy is gone, and it's dwindling, and it's going to continue to dwindle. Nothing's going to stop that. The climate problem is going to get worse and worse year by year, month by month, minute by minute. Nothing's going to stop that. And we're not doing anything to prepare for it or to, to prepare. You know, we've had so many storms in Portugal this year. It's unbelievable. And I've noticed in the United States and around the world as well, this crazy weather whiplash and whatever. It's getting worse and worse, and it's not going to get any better. I'm sorry, those days are gone. The Pleistocene, or all these different, yeah, the Anthropocene is a different animal now, whatever scene you want to call it. So, one guy I like on Substack wrote a thing called "The U.S.-Israel War with Iran: 30 Years of Israeli Wagging the American Dog." 30 years, yeah, for sure. I've noticed it for 30 years. Um, but the this kind of thing, the construct of the Israeli state. Um, look at a map and you see uh, imperialism and colonialism. You see World War One, World War Two, and all of these constructs. Not for you, my friend, not for you. None of it was created for you. And so we're stuck in this horrific Great Game 2.0 or 21st century, and it's not going anywhere. It ends in complete disaster. It ends when the wheels fall off of the machine. So I commented on his post, which I thought was good and well organized, and kind of in a nutshell, I'm so frustrated. And I hope that writers, when I comment like this, don't feel bad about it, because I'm not really criticizing them personally. I'm just so frustrated with the situation. But I said, your post is a well organized and stated treatment of the obvious. After a while, everything seems obvious, right? Oh, I've seen this before. And obviously, kind of thing. If you're paying attention. If you're not, if you pay attention to monster trucks and trout fishing, then no, it's not obvious. So I thank him for that. I've been reading articles pointing out these geopolitical shortcomings since the 1970s. You mentioned future historians. So he alluded to what are future historians going to say when they look back at our moment. And I say, how about a trip to the online bookstore while it lasts, and a look back at U.S. history from its founding? Many conflagrations, police actions, special military operations, and wars on this and that rhyme with our current violent, utterly unnecessary kinetic military debacles. And this goes for all the other ones caused by other actors. But generally, at the bottom of it all is U.S. interests. U.S. is the hegemon. It's the most powerful country in the world. It sets the tone. So other countries are going to do what they do, at least partially because of what America's pushing them to do. And, I keep saying, read that book, Provoked. But yeah, all these things. And they've never stopped, right? Every year we've had them since I've been alive, and since before. If you go back and read people in the 19th century, or you'll just look at the American Indian Wars or whatever. I have dozens of books on my website that bear out your observations. And yes, these strategies, quote unquote, constantly published by think tanks, you know, they're out there. You can read about them. They publish them. They're public domain, public knowledge. One can also read reports published by various branches of the US, UK, and Israeli militaries, among others, for insight into machinations of our deluded dark tetrad of Western global leadership. So, you know, leaders in China, leaders in North Korea, leaders in Africa, in India, in Russia, they're going to tell you straight up what they're thinking. And during these negotiations or whatever, everybody's jockeying with their own propaganda or statements. It's game theoretic. Aren't you a genius for being game professor, whatever, for analyzing everything through a game theoretic lens? I wish we could think of another way to think about our relationships other than that, because it boils everything down to this rivalrous game that's very damaging and destructive. So politicians are parrots, hardly worth our time. I mean, all of these people, what do they say? They're talking for their donors, for the revolving door, the effect of, their next private gig if they lose office, and they're fighting constantly for money to win elections. They're parrots. They don't say anything of high value or of dense info content. There's nothing there. Yeah, they're hardly worth listening to. So this madness and systemic violence to living systems will not stop until the wheels fall off of the modern techno-industrial global civilization machine, and we are all well into a second Bronze Age, going full Homer at each other, as the court jester of the NRX right, Curtis Yarvin, likes to quip. So isn't it funny? Bronze Age, this, that, or the other thing. Ah, ha, ha, ha. We're all going to be fighting with obsidian knives in the future or whatever. Is it really that funny? I don't think so. I mean, I find it so absurd that you have Stephen Colbert. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to talk about the war, which means I have to make jokes about the war. It has to be funny. The absurdity, it has to be funny. The irony, and the audience is just laughing, guffaws, and people are getting killed. People are being murdered, and it's also entertaining. It's just mind-boggling. So whatever side commentators and talkers take, it's all infotainment to the plebs and proles until they get punched in the face. Podcasters are giddy with glee at knowing what's what and feel that their 4K or 10K audience makes them revolutionaries or defenders of the faith. The act will continue until billions of people have starved to death. Trust in any global rules-based order or legal order is evaporating fast. Soon, all countries will be performing decapitation strikes until the nukes are loosed. We are all in the midst of a world war over limited, dwindling resources. The low-hanging fruit has been consumed. The players of the great game will continue using other people's blood and treasure until the game can't be sustained. People in 2026 talk of holy wars. I mean, all this Hegseth stuff, it's madness. It's crazy. Progress was never progressing toward anything. Progress narratives have always been about enslavement. We are in an insane loop, folding back on ancient and modern rationalizations for this thing of ours. It's all a mafia state, or a state of mafia affairs, thuggery and intimidation and all of that. Yes, we have indeed done things, making life more peaceful and civilized, however you want to define that. But we keep slipping back. And at the base of it, this thing of ours, the global world order, whatever you want to call it, is omnicidal. And that doesn't end well when you're killing everything. And you may not notice that you're killing everything, but we're killing everything, all of us. And we can't take responsibility for it. We just, it's too painful to imagine that we might have to, in some small sense, take responsibility for it. So ordinary people have a tough time with complexity. Few people have the capacity to have deep knowledge across several domains. We are all conversant in whatever we've been compelled to pay attention to. So our attention is constantly getting hijacked. We're compelled to look this, that, and the other thing. And then we think we know it all because we've paid attention to this, that, or the other thing. This makes struggling consumers and impoverished people worldwide unable to fight for something or another, to fight for something that would be better, healthier, less destructive. We just can't imagine it. General circumstances, this is a general in my mind, and his name is Circumstances, like General Patton. General Circumstances is a brutal dictator, and all of us will do what we have to do when the cattle cars pull up to the door. So, General Circumstances is, gee, these circumstances are rough. I'm going to do what I got to do. It's not like we're active agents making a big difference in how the world, you know, works. The West, an ultra-violent beast for millennia, will continue to shed blood, and most of us will continue to believe in its stories until our dying day. And you look at this, the stupid stuff that has been happening over the last 20 years. And yeah, okay, so Slovenia and Hungary and Poland and different parts of the NATO alliance and the EU start to go after each other. So after they've built up their weapons, uh, what countries are going to use what weapons against each other? You know, it's like, who's going to control them? A certain amount's going to be in this country and that country. And then they don't agree on anything because the oil has been shut off. The pipeline's been shut down. And people need energy. They need diesel and they need gas. You know, when I first came to Portugal, gas was about $38 for a big bottle of it. Then it went up to 100, then 120, now 140. You know, the sky's the limit. So normal people are just paying and paying and paying for the mistakes of leaders that they've elected. That's really bizarre, right? And they only elected them because whoever got elected had enough money from special interest donors to grab their attention and make them vote for them by saying whatever was salient to their constituency. Not because they had any principles or desire to do anything or implement any of their policies, but just to get elected and work for their donors. So it's tragic. And then people just keep paying, you know, until they have to go to war. And then the kids start dying, and then the civilians start dying. And now we're going to have autonomous weapons systems that are making decisions on what to target and what to kill. It's freaking nuts. And you can go delve into anything, AI, whatever, and it's all just madness. We can't slow down. We've thrown a bunch of accelerants on the fire, and we're accelerating the accelerants. So accelerationism is a thing, and it's not going to slow down until the wheels come off the machine. So I'm just so frustrated, and I don't know why I'm bothering to put this up. Just another dipshit throwing content at the algorithms, at the data centers. But if it helps you find the value in slowing down and paying attention and, educating yourself a bit through your own work, your own reading, and through learning how to discover who to pay attention to, that would be good. We all think we know, so it's kind of stupid advice. But is there any way we can develop more agency and get a handle on this and take power away from these venal, dark tetrad idiots that run the show right now? I don't know. Maybe not. A lot of my friends say it's a predicament. You can't do anything about a predicament. You just have to go through it. Well, how are we going to go through it? We still have some agency should we want to take it. Anyway, so I'll talk to you maybe again sometime. Take care. Boolean T out.